Barbara, I understand in Excel 2019 that there might be something different with concatenate, which is something that I use a lot. Could you explain the differences to me?
Sure. First of all, let me settle your nerves there. Concatenate's still going to be there.
Okay, good.
We will be able to use it because of compatibility issues with earlier versions, so it's still there. But we do have two new functions. We have TextJoin and we have Concat. So let's look at TextJoin first.
All right.
TextJoin is interesting because what it allows us to do is create a text string like concatenate did, but it allows us to do it and put in delimiters.
Oh.
So I can put in spaces or ampersands or commas. It also allows me to tell Excel to ignore an empty cell. So if I have a range of data and there's an empty cell, I can say ignore it or include it.
All right.
It's up to me what I want to do. So you'll notice here we have our syntax. It's TextJoin. Your first thing within your parentheses is going to be the delimiter, so a comma or an ampersand or whatever. The next part of your function is whether you decide whether you want the empty cells included or not. So if you use true, then any empty cell will be left out of the result. If you use false, then it will include that. And then the last part tells you which string of cells to actually combine. So you can actually do multiple strings of data or multiple ranges of data. You can actually do up to 252 text arguments.
Wow.
The one thing you want to be careful of is if your resulting text string is over 32,767 characters, then you're going to get the error message that's the pound value.
That's a lot of characters.
That's a lot of characters. So don't try to write a book using the text string. I can't imagine who would, but anyway. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to come over here to my spreadsheet, and you'll notice that I have this list of employees, and I actually have them sorted right now by their hire date. Let's say for whatever reason I have been asked to create a list of everybody who was hired in the 1990s. This company appears to have started in the 1990s, and maybe we want to list our senior employees.
Okay.
So I can use TextJoin to come over here and look at all of these names and put them in place. And I'm going to put it right here. Notice I've got a place for it, employees hired in the 1990s. So I'm going to type in equals TextJoin. And you'll notice, of course, Excel begins to recognize, and I'm going to click on it so we can look at the information here. And it walks me right through just like anything else. So my delimiter appears within quotes. So I'll do quote, comma, quote. And then I need my separating comma, and I put in true. Notice it prompts me here, true to ignore or false. I'm going to ignore any empty cells. Of course, this is employee data. Probably there's not one, but I'll use true. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my cell range. So I'm going to put in a comma and then put in my cell range, which is right now, it looks like cells A8 through A15. So I will hit enter, and I have this list.
Oh.
Now, do you notice something maybe you don't love here?
That they're all together.
They're all together. So something that you might not pick up on is that you've got to let it know there's a space in there. So what we want to do is redo this, and you'll notice that now what I have done is put a space in after the comma but inside the quotes. So now when I create this function, boom, I now have spaces within the text string.
That looks a lot better. So I need to remember that when I am telling it how to separate that I also need to put in spaces, periods, or any punctuation.
That's right. And so the one thing to keep in mind is it depends on what your delimiter is. So if your delimiter is a comma or an ampersand, then you're going to want to put that space in if you want a space after it. But don't forget, if your delimiter is the space, then of course you won't need that. And the advantage, of course, of the TextJoin is that you can have those delimiters and that you can ignore that empty cell if you want to. So now let's look at Concat. Concat is just like concatenate, actually.
Okay, so they just shortened it.
Right.
All right.
And we have text items that we can join. Again, we have the same thing of being able to do a string of cells, several ranges of cells, and we have those same limits that we had on TextJoin. We can do up to 253 text arguments, and there's that whole 32,767 characters that it can create. But with Concat, it works like concatenate, And we're going to come over here to this spreadsheet, and all you do with Concat is you come into this cell, and let's say that I want to take campus, building, and floor and put it together. Now I don't have TextJoin, so I'm not going to have my delimiter here. I'm going to use Concat, I type in C-O-N, and there's Concat. I double click on it, of course it'll walk me through, and it says, okay, let's put in the range. So I put in my range. There's my range, that's text 1. I could technically put in multiple ranges at this point, but that's the only one I want. I'll hit there. Immediately we have it combined, and of course we know I can copy that down, and it does the combination of those cells for each one of the locations.
So that works just the same as concatenate did before.
Right.
It's just the name of it is a little bit different.
Right.
Okay.
One of the things they're trying to do is eliminate extra characters as you're putting information in the cells, trying to simplify things for people.
All right, good. So Concat allows us to take multiple cells and put them into one cell, like it did before, just has a different name.
Yes.
All right. And TextJoin allows us to take multiple ranges and pull those into the same cell, but it also allows us to ignore empty cells, correct?
Right. And add those delimiters.
Okay, great.